Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Sorry about the last live. That was just, I don't know what the heck that was. But anyways, happy Monday. Happy Halloween. Most importantly, happy Halloween. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out the Zoom, without making it all crazy, and that just made it crazy. Sorry about that, guys. This is going to be a Monday. This is going to be a Monday. The veil is thin right now, and anything can pop through. So for those of you who are empathic, or those of you who are really in tune to the other side, please, 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 please be careful today. I want to wear this, but it's pulling my dress down. So that will not be happening right now. But anyways, good morning. Good morning. I know on Friday when I talked, I said I would have a special costume, and it didn't work out. In fact, none of my costumes worked out. Even my backups did not work out, which makes me super duper sad. So what I had intended to do for Halloween did not pan out, and I'm super bummed. So in 2017, I came up with the costume, the Bride of Frankenstein. Well, I didn't come up with it, obviously. But I hand stitched my own costume. I got like a beige shirt underneath and tore it up to make it look like bandages. Not as fancy as some people could be, but I was very, very proud of it because, like I said, I took this big glob of material and turned it into something that looked fairly reasonable. And I had the wig, and the wig was the one thing I didn't make, but I think because it's been borrowed a few times, and I'm not saying they did anything, but because it's traveled out of, far, far away on planes in UPS boxes, it just got compromised. And so my wig did not turn out. So I figured I'm just going to straighten my crown, put this on, and let's go. All right. It's my goddess crown. So I'm a goddess today. I decided I'm the goddess of everything, goddess of wonder and light, of joy and being, right? So I have some of the decks from, I thought it'd be kind of fun. It's Halloween. Come on, it's Halloween. The veil's thin. We got stuff that we can do. So let's pull, I'll do the Enchanted Unicorn last. So that way, if nobody wants to hang in there for it, they don't have to. Good morning, older sibling. But let's just pull a quick card from the New Orleans deck, and then we'll get into some Halloween fun facts. Today is also Samhain, which is, some of you may see it spelled as Samhin. That is the Gaelic form. In literal text, it is spelled Sauin. So, that kind of gives you a context in how to say it. But Samhain means, in Irish, the end of summer, or summer's end. And it's also the beginning of the Witch's New Year. It is the beginning of the Celtic New Year. And it is the beginning of the Dark Harvest, which is basically winter. So now you got a little bit of fun facts, and I actually think I wrote those down. So you're going to hear them again, because I wrote a lot down. One of them made me laugh so hard, and it probably shouldn't have, but it did. So, even older sibling was looking at me like, you're insane, when I read it to her. But let's see. Ooh, Awakening. That's a good card for today, Awakening. Because the veil is thin. The veil is thin. So look, that is very, very spiritual, right? Very spiritual. So let's go with it. 26. Dun, 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 dun. The experiences of a spiritual awakening can be as varied as life itself. For some, it is a series of seemingly random emotions. For others, it is a growing sensitivity to everyday events. And for many, it is simply having a desire to follow that which resonates with them in a higher vibration. There is no right or wrong way to go through this experience. You are only asked to remain as conscious and aware of yourself as possible, so that you may properly support yourself in the best way possible. Look at it as stepping outside of yourself to observe yourself and your life as a movie that you get to co-create. Remember to ask yourself, how does this person, place, thing, or situation feel to me? Then allow yourself to proceed accordingly. Trusting yourself is of the utmost importance during this time, because the more that you feel you can trust yourself, the easier it is to stay in your flow for all that comes your way. Now remember, for those of you that are sensitive, or those of you that don't realize you're sensitive, be careful today, because like I said, the veil is thin. I mean, to be honest with you, where I live, it feels thin all the time. But the veil is thin today. And so the spirits can walk among you. And that's not meant to scare you, but some of them can be tricky. Some of them, if you're familiar with the Thor movies and Loki, Loki's a real god. And they can be tricksters like him. So be careful, all right? Because this is why I was a little late. Something kept fucking with me this morning, and it was just like, stop it. So anyways, let's get to some fun facts about today. So, I hope everybody came up with really good costumes. I don't know if I should be proud of myself for the fact that I own all these colors that I'm wearing, or that I own one of these, or that I have the clothes, but I guess you could say I could go as a witch today. I don't know, whatever. But, or is it just the real me coming out? But I actually got this from a class I took at the Dragon and the Rose. It's a metaphysical store. And they were doing a class on Bast, the goddess Bast. And of course she knows it's cats. So kitties. It's kitty. Oh, I shut my door so none of the kitties can come in. Sorry, no special guest appearances today. Good morning, baby bear. So anyways, let's get to this. Before I start though, I want to point some things out to people, because sometimes when you talk about pagans, witches, all these traditions, people tend to freak out, right? And go like, oh my God, she's a Satanist. No, I'm not. All right. There are some in this world, but the occult is very vast. The occult is like religion. Okay. There are different sectors of every single one. And most people will associate witchcraft with the things that you see on TV, right? These horror movies. Or they'll associate it with Harry Potter. Somewhere in the middle is the truth, okay? Most people do not go out there. I mean, people talk about sacrifices, right? Well, what did the old, like the Aztecs and the Mayans and all of them do? Hello? Sacrifices for humans to appease the gods. But, yay! So, oh, thank you, baby bear. She says they look amazing. Thank you. It was a lot of hard work this morning. I'm not used to putting on this much makeup. It kills me. But I'm liking all the purples. I don't know if anybody can actually see it through my glasses, but I'm kind of liking all my purples this morning. So I can't see myself. I mean, yeah, I'm literally that blind. But anyways, so I'm not making excuses. You can believe whatever you want to believe, but I kind of just want to set the record straight. Okay? Because I know a lot of people in various aspects of the metaphysical. And some of them do label themselves as witches. I don't have a label. I just kind of do whatever feels right to me. And as you all know that have watched this, you know, over and over, I am actually what they call a polytheist, which means I have a lot of different people that sit at my spiritual table. And yes, including God. But anyways, I got this, and the girl told me I could keep it because she let us all wear one. And it's like, oh no, keep it. I made it just for you. And I love it. I mean, it's my goddess crown. So since I couldn't come up with my costume, and my costume kind of just... last night was a sad night, trying to make every single option I had work, and none of them worked. So I straightened my crown and put it on. So anyways, about the witches, I wanted to get that into an understanding. Most witches and people of pagan traditions are all about nature. They're all about animals. They're all about living. They're about... living, think of them as kind of like vegans, right? Except no, more like vegetarians. They're all about, or not even vegetarian, I don't know. This is what I'm telling you. Whatever is poking at me is poking hard. So this is going to be an interesting life. So anyways, they're about living off the land. They're about killing only what they need to eat and survive. They're about growing like their food, you know, just all these things. This is old traditions, right? I mean, like Stonehenge or Avebury and all these places that they worship before, you know, religion and world religions kind of took over. So the definition for a pagan is actually a person holding religious beliefs other than mainstream world religions. So other than mainstream world religions, which means if you were to talk to a Native American 200 years ago, they probably would have been considered a pagan. Or as the people came along, the settlers came along and called them savages. Seriously? Why? Because they live off the land? Because they don't live in houses because they lived in teepees? Those were their homes. Those were their homes. But I know. Hard to think, or it's hard to believe that this country is only 246 years old. I mean, like, officially. Well, we go back about 400 something years, but I know. So let's, enough of the history lessons, right? But I wanted to make that clear. The Salem witch trials, terrible, terrible time. And all out of fear. We tend to hate what we don't, or we tend to hate what we fear. And we tend to put down and make evil what we fear. When I was growing up, I used to see things, and it would freak my mom out. And my mom was very Catholic, and she said, well, no, that you can't, because the Bible says, la, la, la. Now, my mom wasn't always a person to refer to the Bible, okay? She was a hardcore Catholic, but my dad, because of the religion he grew up in, knew the Bible, like, cover to cover. But, it would scare her. And so my gifts were very, very subdued, and they were very pushed down. And if it wasn't for older sibling, she has helped me on a lot of my paths. She's helped me on my mental health path. She has helped me on my spiritual path. She has helped me open up and learn how to trust what I see and hear. I mean, I got some interesting news this morning about one of my past lives, so I thought that was pretty cool, but I'm not comfortable with it yet. So if you want to know, I will tell you in a text if you want to text me, but I'm just not comfortable talking about it now. But it was an interesting one. It was a very interesting one. But like I said, it's so new that I have to make sure in my heart and my soul that this is actual truth, even though one of my guides is sitting here literally right now yelling at me going, just trust what you're hearing. I know, the veil's thin. Today's the day that I get to just tell you all the things, step out of my normal Aloha perspective persona and be whoever. Okay? Just be myself. I actually am kind of liking my makeup today. I don't normally wear heavy makeup, but the purples. Anyways, so here we go. Happy Halloween, happy Samhain. So, Samhain's literal translation from Irish is summer's end. It marks the end of one cycle and welcomes in winter of the darker half of the season, or the dark harvest season. Samhain is also known as the Witch's New Year, as well as the Celtic New Year. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to be reading all the fun facts now. So, Samhain is celebrated and observed beginning at dusk on the 31st, so tonight, and it will end tomorrow at dusk on the 1st. So, if any of my friends are watching this, I think, according to the internet, now, mind you, I got all this stuff off the internet, so take it as you want to take it, all right? This stuff I know is truth because I actually looked up the Samhain stuff on three or four different things that I Googled to make sure that the information did match one another. But the other stuff, I just found something and said, oh, this looks like fun, so why not? But, I believe, according to the internet, that Dia de los Muertos starts today as well and ends on November 2nd. I always thought it was the 1st and the 2nd, but apparently it starts at dusk tonight. I don't know. So if any of my friends know this, or if anybody on here watching this later, please feel free to correct me in the comments if I am incorrect. And if I am, I do apologize. I live in Southern California, so Mexican traditions are very, very, the culture is very, very well known around here. And they have, like, in part, my friend was just telling me that in San Diego, they had a festival last weekend, and a lot of people will just rent booths to make altars for their families. Now, if you're unclear on a lot of the traditions, I know you're gonna probably want to slap me, but watch Coco, okay? If you have Disney Plus, watch Coco. It really kind of dives into the traditions, and of course, it goes on its own little story. But with the altars and how they, how family is very, very revered. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because it did start in Mexico and Central America, but there is some things in here called souling, S-O-U-L-I-N-G, that I think may actually be the roots of that tradition. So let's keep going. Current Halloween costumes can be traced to the pagan traditions of ancient Celts. Many believed, including the Celts, that the boundary or the veil with the other world is weaker, thinner, during this time, allowing the spirits to pass through and walk amongst us. People would leave food offerings to appease the spirits. Now, I knew this was going to happen. I knew I could just not read all these things and just be like, hey, bye, see ya. Oh, thanks, older sibling. Older sibling says I look great too. Thank you guys for the wonderful compliments. I appreciate it. So if you are an empath, if you are a very spiritual person, if you are a person who, you know, labels yourself in different ways, and like I said, I don't really follow labels because I don't really know that I fit into a label. But I have been referred to as certain labels, and, you know, and it's fine. I don't care. You know, call me what you want. I've been called everything. I've even been called some of the worst things, so it doesn't matter. But it's not because I don't want, you know, it's not because I'm ashamed of it. It's just because I kind of travel my own path. I'm just, you know, if you were to label me, I would actually be probably labeled what they would call an eclectic witch. Because I don't have, you know, I mean, I don't subscribe to religion, but I believe in God. But I believe in a lot of different things. Like I said, I'm a polytheist. There's a lot of people that sit at my spiritual table. I have a lot of spirit guides. I have a lot of archangels around me. So see, it's just, I'm like a hodgepodge. I'm a hodgepodge person. There you go. Hodgepodge goddess. I'm a hodgepodge goddess. But anyways, I know, seriously. Hi, put it all out there, Shelly Marie. I have an auntie that has since passed. She was my father's aunt. And she was very magical labels and everything. And the sad part about her is, you know, I always wish I knew her, because I think there's so much about me that she probably could have explained. And I feel very proud that her gifts have passed down to me and another one of my family members, who I won't mention because it's not up to me to mention it. But my Auntie Maxine was very amazing. And the thing is people always looked at her in the wrong way. A lot of the things that they saw as scary and like, oh, she's because of movies and whatnot, were actually protective charms to keep herself safe. It was other family members there was one other specific family member that she had to worry about, and that she had to protect her descendants. So, you know, I'm putting it all out on the line today. This is one of those things where it's like, you know, just don't give a shit day. You know, I am aligning with my true self. I am aligning with who I am. I don't push my beliefs on other people. I don't sacrifice things. The only thing I sacrifice is my self-esteem. So there you go. But, you know, I'm kind of feeling like I am like the Statue of Liberty of metaphysical people. That's what this crown feels like. It feels like I'm the Statue of Liberty of like metaphysical people. Come, give me your poor, you're tired, and you're magical. Oh, thank you, older sibling, for my magical coffee. I call it magical because it has caffeine in it. But yeah, let's try not to label people. Okay, so for anybody that might be joining us now, I just wanted to remind you that a lot of different words are going to come up in here. So, you know, don't judge them. Don't judge them. Don't judge people. But a pagan, again, a person holding religious beliefs other than the main world stream religions. So, the next fun fact, by the 1500s, the festival began to include costumes and house-to-house visits. Households would oblige to receive good fortune. So if somebody came to their house, they would do something so that good fortune would return to them. The holiday was not called All Hallows Eve until 1556. That's a long time ago. You're all good, Shelley. Way to go. Halloween first appeared in Christian writing around 1745. It is the shortened version of Hallows Eve. You know, it's going to sound terrible. When I saw 1745, all I could think of was Outlander, the show Outlander. Although she went back to 1743. But I think she went forward in 1745. I don't know. Whatever it was hilarious, because I'm like, okay, well, it's kind of a magical show, right? I mean, how many people do you know that can travel through stones? Right? I know it's a fictional character. Get off my back. So anyway, look at me talking to people that I'm assuming might be saying something later. It's a good show though, but it's very smart. Does that make sense? It's very smart. Like, you watch it and you feel, I don't know, I can't explain it. The writing is just smart. Okay, I haven't read the books. I tried. I know. I'm sorry, guys out there who are just Trust me, I've gotten raked over the coals by fans because I like the show, but I've never read the books. But, you know, whatever. I never read the Harry Potter books either. So, anyway. Anyways, Pope Gregory the Fourth moved. Okay, seriously, I don't know what is poking at me, but they need to get off my back, or we're gonna have problems. So, anyways, Pope Gregory the Fourth moved All Saints' Day to November 1st to coincide with Samhain, most likely to purge pagans and convert Christians. So, Baby Bear said she started reading the books after watching the show. I tried. Like I said, I tried so hard, but I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe part of me too, I don't want to know things. I really don't. I don't want to know what the show is going to progress into. I mean, I read all the Lord of the Rings books after I watched the movie, and I thought it was great because it filled in all the holes, right? But, a lot of people are like, I can't believe you. I mean, like, look at The Shining. I mean, if I would have read that book, well, I was too young to actually read the book at the time when the movie came out. I mean, like, toddler. But, the movie that Stanley Kubrick put out took the idea of The Shining and turned it into something totally different. The miniseries that came out, I think it was on ABC, like back in the mid-90s, I think. Stephen King actually had a hand in that. That was closer to the book. So see, sometimes when you read the book, you get this. I mean, when the first season of Outlander came out, I had friends that had read all the books. I mean, they read the books the minute they came out initially. So they were just like, oh my God, I can't believe this is why I actually found the show. Because a friend of mine her mom and my mom passed in the same summer, within months of each other. So, even though she's one of my dear, dear friends, probably I would consider her one of my best friends. I wanted to do something special for her because she was still mourning. She was in grief mode. And so she's all, will you please go to this panel for me? Wasn't even on my radar. Never heard of it. Never saw it. Never heard of the people that were in it. Well, actually, turns out one of the people I saw in a James Bond movie. I know, right? Yeah. And I always like the nerdy ones anyways. I mean, in the James Bond movie. But, anyway, so that being said, I went and wow, mind blown. So there you go. Don't shame people that don't read the books. All right. Because sometimes, that's what I was going to say. My friends in the first season had to point out everything that was different. Everything. And, I just figured, to me, when you read something and then you see it later, it's not always going to be the same because they have to fit it, right? You have to fit something in to make it work. And, things are going to change. Things are going to change from the book to the screen. So, this way I'm not disappointed. Anyways, although most people Pope Gregory moved All Saints' Day to November 1st to coincide with Samhain. Now, in this it says, most likely to keep the summer pilgrimages to a minimal. No. What happened was Christianity took a lot of pagan traditions and turned them into holidays. Easter, Christmas, Halloween. So, I know. I didn't know these things when I was growing up. I mean, when I heard that Yule, they say the Yule log, right? Or Yuletide. Yuletide, I believe, is the pagan word for Christmas. So, but we take these traditions and, like I said, people try to rid themselves of things they fear, or, I grew up Catholic, but back in the old days, they were just all about and getting what they want. So, no offense to any Catholics out there, because, I'm always going to be a Catholic in one form or another. That's how I was raised. That's how I was baptized. It's in my spiritual DNA. But, I can feel my mother right now. So, although most people consider Halloween a major U.S. holiday, it did not. I put that in. We don't get the day off, so as far as I'm concerned, it's not a real holiday. But although most people consider Halloween a major U.S. holiday, it did not reach mainstream consciousness in North America until the 1800s. Mass Scot and Irish immigration allowed the traditions to flourish here. So, to all those Scottish and Irish people who came before us, thank you. To all my Irish immigrant family members. Thank you. Because I really love Halloween. Street parades with criers in black. Street parades with criers in black asking people to remember the dead, called souling. We talked about this earlier. Began around the 1100s. Souling, S-O-U-L-I-N-G, included home-baked soul cakes marked with a cross that were given out in exchange for prayers. So that was a huge thing. That was actually people started doing that. That might be even where trick-or-treating came along. You know, people making these things, and eventually it came out where somebody would say they pray for you if you would give them food. So it was kind of like eventually became kind of a begging thing, like a beggar type of thing. But, you know, that's a whole other story. In the Middle Ages, Christians would carry carved turnips turned into lanterns, which were thought to symbolize the souls of the dead. Fires such as a burning jack-o'-lantern were thought to prevent demons from haunting homes and guide wandering souls back to their families. People roaming during the night could also ward off evil spirits. While Ireland and Scotland preferred turnips, U.S. immigrants used native pumpkins because they were softer and more readily available. So that's how you get the jack-o'-lantern now, guys. And now you know what the face is supposed to mean. A popular Irish folktale explains the origin of the jack-o'-lantern. It is said to contain the soul of a person who was denied entry to both heaven and hell, condemning them to roam earth forever. Seriously, how bad must you be if you can't get into either? If you can't get into hell, you need to think about your life choices. All right? Because, I mean, if hell turns you away, there's something wrong with you. I know. Like, now I'm making myself laugh. I'm sorry. It was quite the hoot last night while I was writing all these down. Okay, so this is literally my thought last night. It's like, how fucking bad must you be if hell won't let you in? Or how vanilla must you be if heaven won't let you in? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's obviously a folktale. But I do believe that some of the souls that roam this earth have no idea that they're dead. Or they have unfinished business, right? There's that movie Heart and Souls with Robert Downey Jr. and Elizabeth Shue. And the ghosts were... Oh, God, who were the ghosts? They were Charles Grodin, Alfre Woodard, Kira Sedgwick, and... Oh, God... I can see Tom Sizemore, right? And they all had something that was undone. And of course, the bus driver that got them killed, he was a servant on the other side, just like Beetlejuice, right? With the lady that slit her wrists, and she ended up being like a social worker. But sometimes they are people with unfinished business. But in my personal opinion, a lot of them that just interact with people that, you know, like they're normal, I don't think they realize they're dead. Okay, now, again, this is Halloween, so we're stepping out of the regular perspective box of, you know, learning self-love, learning all these things, stepping into your power. But we're talking about things that I think a lot of people misunderstand. So I'm doing what I can to kind of clarify, you know, to just kind of put it on the level and say, look, this is what I know, this is what I hear, this is what I get from my guides. So again, if anybody has questions right now, or even later when you're watching this, put it in the comments. Eventually, I will see it. I'm terrible at checking comments on YouTube. So, these are public on Facebook. So, if you want to put a question in there, by all means, please do that. You can find it under my name, which is Shelley Marie Lucas. So, but that is kind of a... I just really am like, seriously, how bad must you be if you can't get into hell? But, let's see. The next one, the first recorded incident of guising in North America was in 1911. A regional Canadian newspaper from Kingston, Ontario, published an article about children disguising in costume as they roamed for food or coins in their neighborhood. So, I don't know the tradition that this is supposed to be, but in the movie Meet Me in St. Louis, or St. Louis, whichever. It depends if you're singing the song in your head or you're actually just singing it out loud. One of my favorite movies, and Tom Drake. If I was alive like 60 years ago, 70 years ago, But anyways, sorry. I know, right? The guy's been dead for like 40 years or something like that. But anyways, Meet Me in St. Louis is a great movie. And they have a little scene in there with the Halloween, and they would throw flour on people, which is basically killing them on Halloween. But I can't remember what they called it, you know. And of course, there are other bad traditions. I mean, look at The Crow, right? Hell's Night. Great movie. I was a huge Brandon Lee fan. Totally devastated when that happened, when he died. But yeah, so there were a lot of different traditions, and they, you know, and as you know, they just kind of became what they are now, you know, to the mainstream people, to us. So the first printed mention of trick or treat was also in Canada, Alberta to be exact, in 1927. The practice didn't become widespread in the US until the 30s. So in the 1800s, Halloween started to take root, if you will, pumpkins root. But it seems as though those traditions were still very traditional in how they looked at the celebration over here, or the traditions over in the northern parts of the UK, and that it didn't really become a big thing here, costume wise and trick-or-treating, and kind of what I guess we know it to be more like now, until the 1930s. Here's one of the scariest facts. In 2018, Americans spent $480 million on costumes for their fur babies. My fur babies would not let me get close with a costume. I told older sibling, how fun would it be if I could find a tiny little, like, Bride of Frankenstein wig for Pixel, and her and I could twin? That cat would probably claw my eyes out in my sleep if I tried to put something on her. And she's lovey. She's one of the lovier ones. But she can be a butt. But she's, to the humans, very lovey. But yeah, don't touch her at the 10-foot pole with a costume. But that's definitely true love. $480 million on pet costumes 4 years ago. I know. So, in Ireland, it was customary for a... I'm sorry, this is the one that made me laugh so hard. And I'll tell you why. So, in Ireland, it was customary for a woman to gaze into a mirror at night during Halloween to see the face of their future husband. Sometimes a skull might appear to signify that the person will pass before marriage. So, I started laughing when I read that, because I thought, it doesn't mean you can be young. It means you could be old AF and never get married. So, I know. I told sibling, I said, if I looked in there, I'd probably say like a bazillion skulls. So, that is not a practice I will be trying. I know. I don't think very highly of my future falling in love. I've kind of given up already. Just doesn't seem like it's ever going to happen. So, whatevs. But anyways, I did think that was interesting though. So, I'm going to read that one last time. Or once again. God, my brain today. In Ireland, it was customary for a woman to gaze into a mirror at night during Halloween to see the face of their future husband. Sometimes a skull might appear to signify that the person will pass before marriage. Ooh, scary. The first Halloween-themed attraction opened in 1915 in England. It was called the Orton and Spooner Ghost House, a steam-powered carnival fun house. And apparently I think it's still going, or it's part of a museum collection now. The practice of giving out candy apples faded because, actually they said because people found it to be dangerous. This is what I wrote. The practice of giving out candy apples faded because people can be assholes and ruin it for people by putting dumb shit in the apples to harm people. Now, the reason apples were a big thing around Halloween is because Halloween and Samhain and the Celtic New Year and all these things really kind of came after the apple harvest. So the apple harvest is usually at the end of summer, early fall, or all in fall. And so, bobbing for apples, candied apples, these were all things that people would give out or, use as treats, or when you have parties, you always see them around, right? And that was one of the reasons. It was because there was a huge surplus of this fruit. But, like I said, people are jerks and people ruin things ruin fun things. And I remember, God, I think it was in the last 20 years, You know, people were saying don't take, you know, apples from strangers or whatnot. Somebody had put a razor blade. We're putting razor blades in some of them. I don't know why people got to be rude and just ruin things for people. So, pop culture has had a tremendous impact on Halloween. Oh, this was one of my favorites. Gothic novels and horror films had defined our modern monsters. Oh, had defined our modern monster. Try this again. Pop culture has had a tremendous impact on Halloween. Gothic novels and horror films have defined our modern monsters. The top costumes for 2020 were a witch, a vampire, ghost, cat, and... this one made me chuckle a bit. Batman. I mean, literally, you're a witch, vampire, ghost, cat, and Batman. I'm sorry. I know. I've got the giggles today, but it's like, holy Christ. Seriously? Batman. You got a witch, a ghost, a cat, and a vampire. And then there's Batman. All right, Batman. So anyways, that was it. That was rough, guys. I know. I'm sorry. But you know what? This is what I love about all of you who watch my show. You're so patient with me, and I do so appreciate. Oh. Okay, so Baby Bear says the candies that parents have to look out for now are Skittles, Whoppers, and Sweet Tarts because they're drugs. Oh. That's terrible. I mean, seriously. And I get it. Sweet Tarts, Skittles, Whoppers, you can coat all those things. Or you can make them look like it and seal up packages. I don't get why people do stupid things. I don't get why people have to be assholes. I mean, seriously, I'm with her. Let the kids have fun. You know, there was a time when this was a completely... I mean, it started out as a way to appease the ghosts, right? That's why a lot of people would dress up. That's the whole idea about costuming, is that it was supposed to trick the ghosts or the spirits to make them believe that you were like them so they would leave you alone. But people tend to make things bad. And it sucks. Like, it super sucks. Why would you, want to do something to harm children? To harm people? And I say people too, because how many parents... I know you're not going to raise your hands, but how many parents used to steal some of their kids' candies? Yeah, my dad. Not always. I mean, he would take some. And, you know, most of the time when I got older and I was smart enough to figure it out, they would ask. But it was always fun too, because my cousins and I would go trick-or-treating together, and then we'd sit there and pour out all our candy and trade each other, because fortunately, we all had different favorites. But it's sad that these are the things we have to look out for now. You know, it's sad that when I was a kid, we could just, start digging into our candy and just eat, and kids can't do that now. I mean, we were actually told not to because our parents wanted to check it. It's sad that there are places that offer to x-ray your children's candies because people are assholes. Just stop. Just stop. You know, it's like, I mean, who hurt you when you were a child? Seriously, I'm sorry you had a bad experience in your early life, but don't take it out on other people. They just want to have fun. I mean, this is the thing. When trauma happens to us, there are 3 ways we can go. We can either go the route of the person that traumatized us and just be a jerk and make everybody hurt around you. You can grow from it and just say, you know what? I don't want this kind of shit to happen to, to people that I care about, because I know how shitty it feels. Or you just kind of stay stuck in the middle, where it's like you're not hurting people, but you don't feel like you're privileged enough to move into a place of healing. And trust me, if you were that person that's stuck, you deserve to move into a place of healing. See, look, the perspective turned right back into a teaching lesson. But it's the truth. You don't want to be a hurt person hurting people. We don't have to sit there and go, well, this happened to me, so I'm going to do it to someone else. No. Break the cycle. My dad struggled with his parents. He not close really to either of them. Doesn't have a lot of nice things to say about either of them and their parenting skills. And he told me, because I told him, I said, thanks for being my dad. And this is when I was a lot younger. I still thank him. He just looks at me like, what do you want? I know. But he'll sit there and say, well, and I asked him one time, I said, why, I said, I said, thank you for being my dad and for being a much better parent than you had. And he told me, I knew that if I ever had kids, I wanted to be the parent I wish I had. See, that's how you mature. That's how you grow up. You don't turn around and take it out on other people, and if you are doing that, maybe you need help. Maybe you need someone to walk you through it so you can heal. Not all people that hurt people are coming from a place of just being totally malicious. A lot of times they're in so much pain and they don't know how to get out of it. And, I come from a generation that we sit right between, the generation that we don't talk about mental health issues and, oh, hey, you know what? Let's wear it like it's a designer outfit. And I don't mean that to be in a mean way, because the generation that I'm in, a lot of the people that I see that are trying to destigmatize, mental health did come from my generation. I'm a Gen Xer. I know. We're just like, yeah, whatever. But we had to deal with this stuff because a lot of times, I told you when I was in my early 20s, I opened up to my mom, and she kind of swept it under the rug. Like, nope, we don't talk about that kind of stuff. Sorry. And I didn't get the help I needed. And I think it's a fear-based thing. We're sometimes afraid, again, like with the Halloween stuff, we label things bad that we're afraid of and don't understand. Going back to the earlier conversation about the Salem witch trials, I would guarantee you that not one of them was even close to being a practicing witch. I could be wrong. I don't know. I didn't exist back then. But it was all hearsay. It was all finger pointing. It was people turning against each other. And, the one woman who was actually considered like a voodoo type witch was the one who lived. Right? The one that it's not her fault. It's the kid's fault. But it started with that. And so, again, people died because of people's fear and people's greed, right? If you watch some of the documentaries about the Salem witch trials, some of them were starting to turn on the neighbors. Their neighbors. Do you see where I'm going here? They would turn on their neighbors and suddenly, oh, look, they own their neighbor's land. That's pretty sad, huh? But we have to learn not to label one another. We have to learn to be kinder to one another. If someone's religious belief, whether it's pagan or a mainstream religion, does not agree with you, that doesn't mean they're a bad person. What it means is they just choose to worship or practice or whatever it is in their own way. They share their light and they spread their light in their own way. I know a lot of people who, sit there, Bible in hand, that are some of the most judgmental people I've ever met in my life. And then I've met other people, Bible in hand, who are very kind and nice and just say, hey, you know what? Yeah, we don't agree on things. But I know you. And I like being around you. So when we start to remove the stigma, we start to remove not just the veil between us and the other world, but the veil between us and seeing one another. It's like those old days, right? When the woman wore the veil, it was because most times they were betrothed and the husband never really knew what his wife would look like until he lifted the veil. And sometimes you're like, whoa. And other times you're like, wow. And that's not to be judgy. I'm just going by movies I've seen. I know movies, but these were old traditions. So you never knew what you were getting, right? It was like Forrest Gump and his box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get inside. But eventually some of these people, because they had to be with one another, because it was an arranged marriage, learned to love one another. Because they removed the veil, the proverbial veil, the one that this wall that we put up to stigmatize others when we don't understand where they're coming from. I, at one point after my mom died, I was very spiritually lost. Very spiritually lost. Like I said, I still subscribe to the idea of God. And I say idea because I know that's not everybody's thing. But I have a very, very vast spiritual table. So I know some new people popped on. So I would be what you would call a polytheist, which means that I believe in more than one deity. But that doesn't make me any different from anybody else. But when I first put that on there and my spiritual beliefs, I cannot tell you how many people came at me saying, well, you shouldn't do this. What would your mother think? There's only one God. Well, here's the interesting thing. Most people fight religious wars over the same God. That's one to think about, isn't it? When you stop and really think, everybody's higher power is probably in mainstream religion. In Christianity and other religions that do have God, they're fighting wars over the same guy. Or woman, however you want to look at it. Because they're fighting over how it should be practiced. Meanwhile, everybody over here is going, hey, believe in what you want, practice how you want. As long as you're not harming others. Some people have it coming. There's a light and a dark side to everything. There's a light and a dark side to mainstream religions. There's a light and a dark side to metaphysical things and spirituality. But I cannot tell you, I lost some friends. And the sad thing they were family members. People who didn't really know me and never got to know me because they didn't like what I had to say and what I believed in. Because of fear. Because of fear. That's what fear does. It pulls us apart. It strengthens our resolve to not listen to somebody else, to not put ourselves in their shoes or see them with a different set of lenses. Other than the judgmental ones that we carry. I have been labeled different things, and that's okay. I don't mind. I mean, I'm sure putting that out there is not helping me, but you know what? It's like my Auntie Maxine told me, I have great powers. I have great strength. I have a lot of gifts. And I let them fall by the wayside for many, many years because people will sit there and go, that's not real. That's stupid. No, that doesn't work. You can't do it that way. The way I see it, God made us to be who we wanted to be. He aligned us with the gifts that are meant to be ours. Everybody may not subscribe to God. That's okay. That's your choice. Like I said, I have a lot of different deities that sit at my table. Each one brings something beautiful to the table and something very helpful for me that I need on my own journey. And I was struggling a lot last week. I meditated and I was able to kind of step out into the metaphysical world and talk to the auntie I never got to know. And I'm grateful for that. The veil was thin. The veil is always thin around me. I'm a very powerful empath. And, I'm not very good at reading people I don't know because I don't trust myself enough. But I usually hit the nail on the head with the people that I do know. And not because I know their story, but because, people have come to me that I've never met physically. And I said, well, I have a message for you. And they're like, wow, how'd you know that? And it's what popped in my head. It's what somebody showed me. Because I am learning to understand my gifts more. And when you stop being so afraid of other people's gifts and you open up and allow those messages to come, you're going to be surprised. I would say 99% of the people out there are not going to come in your direction to harm you. They're going to come to bring you something you need to hear from someone that loved you and is now gone. And it does scare people, and there's nothing I can do about that. But once we learn to step away from fear, once we learn to accept one another, just as the person that they are, the kind person you knew, these people had no problem with me until I kind of aligned with who I wanted to be. And to be honest with you, like a little turtle that sent me right back in my shell. My shell. I'm shell. But it sent me right back in my shell. And then I was afraid again. And I really think that little tiny thing, believe it or not, it's coming to the forefront now. And I realized that little tiny thing was actually something that had a big, significant impact on my healing and my growth. you know, and I was able to channel a message from my aunt, and I'm grateful. I'm very grateful for her. To have her in my corner, you know, as a spirit guide, it's fantastic. And, you know, if people are going to judge me and they're going to see me as somebody strange and different, then you don't need to know me. Because I am doing my best to accept everybody as they are, who they are, the person they want to be, helping people align with their true purpose, their true birth, you know, their true birthright, their gifts that they're born with, that were bestowed upon them before they came into this world. And there have been a lot of obstacles in my way. There have been a lot of people obstacles in my way. And I've been ashamed to align with who I am. But I know now that as I do this, I mean, if I were walking on the street, you have no idea of what I'm saying to a lot of you now. Because I'm just me. And the more we get to know the just me's of the world, the more we're going to realize that a lot of people bring a lot of wonderful and beautiful things to the table. And that's very, very important. You know, I'm going to read you one of the messages my aunt gave me. The first line is what I'm going to read you. Well, first of all, I'm going to read you bits and pieces of it. Trust your power. Don't downplay your talents. And remember that you have more power and strength than you realize. So believe in yourself and trust in you. And I believe that that is a message for everybody out there who is struggling. Believe in your gifts and trust in you. Don't downplay your talents. I downplay my talents a lot. And older sibling really kind of just verbally tells me, you need to stop that, you know. And I'm grateful for those that look after me and that watch me. I'm extremely grateful for that because it is a gift. So I think what I'm going to end with today is to just remind people to go out there, be yourself, live your truth. You know, the veil is thin today, and like I said, for a lot of people who are heavily empathic or even just mildly empathic, your veil is pretty much thin quite a bit. But today, for, I'll just say the normal people, and I don't mean that in a bad way, I'm not trying to minimize anybody, but I would say for the normal people, the veil is very thin today and tomorrow, and probably the next day. So, you know, reach out, but be careful, all right? Be careful, because when you open doorways, you got to make sure you know how to shut it, and you got to make sure that you have a bouncer there to keep out the riffraff, all right? That's what I really want to end with, actually, because there are people that open doorways, and believe it or not, I have been called on several times to shut these fucking doors. Do not open anything you do not understand. If you're going to play with a pendulum, you're going to play with a Ouija board, it's not a game. It is a communication tool. And it can open doorways to bad places. So don't just go in all willy-nilly. And I don't mean to be so mommying about this. But I'm telling you, if you want to keep yourself safe, make sure that you have a closed circle. Just create a circle of energy so that whatever you may unleash by accident cannot get out into your life. And then remember, when you're shutting something down, no matter what it is you're doing, believe it or not, the eyeshadow I'm wearing is called Seance. I know, I just like the color, and I looked at it today. I'm like, oh, well, that's appropriate. Those two, if you watch people, they close the door. They send back whatever was not meant to be there. If you have a spirit guide, if you believe in archangels, you know what? Even if you don't, archangels are non-denominational. So if you're going to play with this stuff, call on Archangel Michael and Archangel Uriel to guard your circle. To make sure that whatever portal or door or vortex you are opening, they keep the bad stuff out. They keep the riffraff out. All right? But just please be careful with it. I can't tell people not to use it. But it's not a game. It's a tool. Milton Bradley may tell you it's a game, but it's not a game. It is a tool. And it's not really a tool to be afraid of. When used properly, they can bring in good messages for people. When used improperly, it can cause some bad shit. Okay, so there's my PSA for the day. Be careful with what you play with when it comes to divining. Okay, just be very, very careful. That's all I'm asking. And the second thing I want to leave you with, don't be so judgy. Let's all, I mean, I can be judgy sometimes, so let's all work on not being judgy. Let's all work on just kind of looking at one another, and instead of just judging them by what you think you know about them, get to know them. I mean, not everybody's going to vibe with you, and that's okay. You know, that's how you weed out the people who end up being super close in your life, and you have your whole little acquaintance pile over here. You know, people are like, oh yeah, hey, how's it going? Haven't talked to you in a while. But that's how we know. That's how we learn about one another. By not judging one another and getting to know one another. And, you know, you'd be amazed at how much your horizons can be expanded. You know, when my mom was dying, she already knew that I was headed down a much different spiritual path than she was on. But we talked about it. And I made her understand. And, you know, she just asked me questions. I answered them because her first thing was, please don't tether me to this planet. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's all like, you know, with the stuff that you do. I'm like, that's not how it works. And she's like, what do you mean? And I said, we don't tether people to the earth. I said, I'm not going to tie a little spiritual rope around you and stake it into the ground. I said, if you want to come and talk to me, I said, it's like a doorway. You open the door and poof, I'm there. Or I knock on the door and you choose whether or not you want to answer. It's obviously a proverbial spiritual door, but she understood. There was a lot that she didn't understand. And so, you know, I think she was comforted by the fact that God is still on my spiritual path. But, you know, I didn't tell her about all my other beliefs. Actually, I didn't have a lot of other beliefs back then. I've spiritually grown. But he does sit at the head of my table, and I'm not ashamed to say that. And it's not a just in case thing. It's just because it's something I grew up with, and it's something I'm comfortable with. But for those of you, again, like I said, who like to be judgy about religion, just remember, a lot of these, you know, wars over religion have all been fought over basically the same superpower, the same higher power, the same superior being. What people are fighting, again, over is how it should be practiced. If we all learn to just let each other do their own thing, you know, and keep each other on the straight and narrow and on a path of love and light with a hint of darkness in there, because you can't have darkness, you can't have light without darkness, and you can't have darkness without light. They go hand in hand. It's a balance, right? It's the balance that we always talk about. But for people that go around and judging other people because maybe they don't believe in what they believe in, and I'm talking about anybody, I'm talking about whether you have pagan beliefs or whether you have world, you know, mainstream world religious beliefs. Somewhere in the middle is the rest of us who just love everybody. Well, everybody on this side or this side. And this side is usually because they've been, you know, so stigmatized for so many years that they've built up a wall. And they just want to hurt back. And that's not everybody. But they get very defensive, right? And people over here, well, this is our way, and we have a book to prove it. Please. It was a book written by a bunch of men. So, and again, not trying to be offensive to anybody, but the word of God I get comes directly from. All right? You can take this all for what you want. I mean, some people may say, oh, it's just an act, right? Because this isn't what her show is normally like. Take it for what you will. All right, I gave you some fun Halloween facts. I gave you some fun Samhain facts. But here is the bottom line. Thank you, baby bear. This is the bottom line. We need to learn how to stop judging one another and just love one another. Put that love and light into the world. Put that understanding into the world. Put that, you know, remove the fear and judgment from things. You know, if you want people to know about the Bible, don't walk up to them and proverbially, whatever, the word I'm trying to use. Don't literally hit them with it. All right? Your word and what you believe is your choice. If you want someone to believe in your metaphysical beliefs, don't run up and hit them with your grimoire. It's not how it works. Sit down, have a conversation. You will find common ground with most people. And like I said, the ones that aren't meant to be in your life, it'll just be, that's fine. Hi, acquaintance. Good to see you. I'm on my way. But you never know what you might be missing when you judge what you don't know. So don't judge what you don't know. Remove the fear and the stigma from a lot of beliefs and just love one another. Right? Just love one another. That's the message that's coming through loud and clear to me right now from all different directions. Just love one another. This world is in a bad imbalance right now, and we need to put it back into balance. And the way we put that back into balance is by learning to love one another. All right. So I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day today. Thank you so much for watching. I don't know what we're going to do tomorrow yet. I'll wing it. We'll come up with something. Next week, we will start the getting into the vortex cards. And the getting into the vortex cards is basically going to help us solidify the self-love stuff that we were learning, right? Lessons 1 through 30 of self-love. This will be lessons 1 through 60. All right. So that'll be 4 days a week. I'm also going to do them during Self-Care Wednesdays, because it is a lot. There are a lot more cards, and that's going to take us right into the new year. But the getting into the vortex means aligning with yourself, getting into yourself, getting into self. And I was reading some of the cards, and I really, really do think that it's going to help us really kind of finish up that house of self-love we were building, so that even though we do go into the next year with it, it's the beginning of the year. It'll be done, I think, by early to mid-February. But it will, I really truly believe, help us set this beautiful landscape, so that you're not just building this home of self-love, but you're also building this beautiful surrounding for it. All right. So again, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. November 1st. I know, tomorrow's November. 2 months left in the rest of this year. Thank you, baby bear. Thank you. You have a great day and a happy Halloween as well. All of you have a great day and a happy Halloween. Please be safe. Please be careful. If you're going to party, drink responsibly. Party responsibly. And just have a great time. Okay, have a great, great time. I'll see everybody back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, Facebook Live under Shelly Marie Lucas. All lives are public. You don't need to be friends with me to watch it. Please feel free to interact if you do come onto the live. Or you can watch the replay on YouTube with the Aloha Perspective with Shelly Marie Lucas. I do also share this to my Facebook page, the Aloha Perspective, and I also share it to both of my Twitter accounts. Have a great, great day, everybody, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Thank you for watching.